So does Raila Odinga's challenge have merit? Did the chief of the Election Commission act improperly? Does he have solid evidence of vote rigging? Well, joining me now to discuss some of the intricacies of Kenya's election in Nairobi, Kenya, is Dr. Nicodemus Minde, an international relations scholar and an analyst as well. Thank you so much for joining me on Wide Angle today.
Thank you very much.
All right. So let's start by, I'd like you to give me a brief assessment of the elections as in the process. In your view or opinion, would you say it was free? Was it fair? Was it well participated in? Give us a brief overview.
Well, going by the previous elections, Kenya has had very turbulent elections in the previous past. 2007 elections led to post-election violence that claimed the lives of 1,300 people. In 2013, the election results were challenged. In 2017, the election results were annulled. So going by these three past elections, we can say on a general, generally that this election was quite peaceful. The campaigns were quite peaceful as well. There are no incidences of violence. There are no incidences of breaking of laws and all that. So we can just generally say that up until the announcement of the results on the 15th of August, the electoral process and the electoral cycle was quite peaceful and generally organized in a very calm way.
Okay, interesting. So Raila Odinga has gone ahead to court to challenge the election results. Do you think his challenge has merit, considering some of the issues which he also raised? He said that the election management body is compromised. There's some other things that he mentioned. So do you think that based on that, his challenge has merit?
If you read, of course, there are a number of petitions that have been filed at the Supreme Court, 9 in total, and the leading one is by Raila Odinga, the presidential flag bearer of the Azimio One Kenya coalition, against challenging the electoral victory of William Ruto. So one of the issues that he raises is that William Ruto did not meet the constitutional threshold of 50 plus 1 votes, which is a constitutional requirement for you to be declared president. But amongst other things that he raises were the process of the election. But of course, the other civil societies have also raised questions around the credibility, raising questions around the electoral process. There are, of course, allegations of hacking and other malpractices. So these are things that Raila Odinga, together with the civil society, is bringing to the court. And of course, this will be determined. So whether this was, we can call that the case has merit or no merit, is for us to look at the petition that has been filed by Raila Odinga as well as the civil society, which will be determined. But some of the issues that have been raised include the constitutional threshold of 50 plus 1 vote, which Raila Odinga alleges that William Ruto did not attain, the allegations around hacking, the allegations around voter fraud, and other serious electoral malpractices which have been brought. So if at all this were to be proven in court, then we can outrightly say that the electoral process was not free and fair, going by the first question that you actually put to me.
Okay. To follow up on that particular question, one of the more glaring irregularities or discrepancies was the fact that there were dissenting commissioners within the IEBC, and we actually did see an interview of where the lady there said that they couldn't take ownership of the election. So based on that, and I sort of asked that question before, does the head of the IEBC have the sole right to announce election results, regardless of whether there are some dissenting commissioners within the commission?
So this is one of the issues that is going to be interpreted by the Supreme Court. Of course, the Supreme Court, as the appellate, most senior, as the jurisdiction of interpreting the Constitution. So one of the issues that they are going to really interpret is that particular clause of whether the electoral chairman, the electoral body chairman, has the sole mandate of actually declaring the president-elect. We know that as pursuant to the electoral law and the the Constitution, that the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that's the IEBC, is the chief returning officer at the presidential level. So his declaration is seen as the final, based on the collection of tallying of votes at the constituency level. So this is part of the legal battle that is going to be fought in court. So there are those legal experts who believe that the Constitution actually bestows mandate to the chairperson in his right as the chief returning officer at the presidential level to do actually to announce the results. But there are those, on the other hand, legal experts as well, who believe that it has to be a collective decision, yes, based on him as the chairperson and the 7 commissioners. And as you know that 4 of the commissioners on the day of the announcement actually said that they were not part and parcel, yeah, of the tally and all that. So this is going to be one of the biggest legal battles at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will have to really be able to interpret this provision so that it can become some sort of precedent setting going forward.
Okay. All right, so let's talk a bit about the now president-elect, William Ruto. How did he get the majority of the votes? I'm asking this question based on the fact that he came on a brand new platform, a newly formed party that he formed in 2021. That's one. Secondly, he's going against the machinery, as it were, of the incumbency. How has that changed? And then also considering the fact that the incumbent, Uhuru Kenyatta, is of the Kikuyu ethnic regions. He's not from that part. So what would you say that might have contributed to William Ruto getting the votes?
Well, one of the things that you have mentioned in the introduction of your story is the famous 2018 handshake. Yes. So after the 2017 election, the relationship between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy began to thaw. And of course, in 2018, a political agreement through the handshake was signed, which really sidelined the deputy. And it is from then that he actually began to create some sort of a narrative of hustlers versus the dynasty. And of course, he comes from a very humble, poor family, and he has risen to the ranks of deputy president. Of course, he cites this as a remarkable story. And of course, on the other hand, if you see, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta's fathers were actually in the first independence government.
Yes.
Jomo Kenyatta was the first president. That's the father of Uhuru Kenyatta. Mm-hmm. And the vice president was Jaramogi Odinga, who is Raila's father. So by that virtue, together with the other, the Moi family, Daniel Moi's family, created this narrative of a dynasty or a kingdom of some kind, which did not augur very well amongst the poor. So Ruto was able to capture the imagination of the youth and the young people around this narrative of dynasty versus hustler, that you find that these dynasties want to continue ruling us. So he almost created some sort of a class issue, which really resonated very well amongst the youth. Of course, another issue that really can be attributed to the dramatic rise of Ruto is his economic policy, which he termed as the bottom up, which is very populist in nature. So he's thinking around resuscitating the economy from the poor, that is from the bottom going up. So this really has really endeared him to the people, and of course at the detriment of Uhuru Kenyatta, who is seen to have gone against an earlier pact.
Interesting. Okay, moving on. How did Raila Odinga's choice of Martha Karua as vice president, did that in any way signify a change in the status quo, like in the way that Kenyans would normally vote? Do you think it worked for him? Do you think it worked against him? What do you think?
Well, I thought the choice of Martha Karua as a woman was actually very inspired in the sense that she's a reformist candidate, and we are in a region where women are taking a political leadership. In Rwanda, in neighboring Tanzania, we see the first woman president. So that choice of Martha Karua as Raila's running mate was quite inspirational, and actually it propelled him to this extent that, of course, there are people who are very tired of the old regime, who are tired, they didn't want to vote. But the choice of Martha Karua was quite transformative. In fact, many people said they are going to vote not because they are voting for Raila, but they are voting for a woman. And this, of course, goes to the other angle that both Martha Karua and Raila Odinga have played critical roles in Kenya's democratic trajectory. So it was almost seen as a very reformist ticket as compared to William Ruto and the choice of the deputy. So to a great extent, of course, there are other angles that we know Kenya really votes on tribal or ethnic voting, but the choice of Martha Karua was quite inspirational, not just from her core ethnic of Kikuyu, but in the national outlook as a whole.
Okay. All right. Lastly, before I let you go, any lessons for us? I mean, Nigeria, we are going to be heading into our own elections in February of next year, 2023. Are there any specific lessons for us, things that we could learn from in this particular instance?
Well, to be honest, that the Kenyan election has really was very, transformative, not just to the neighboring countries, but the whole of the continent were watching it with a lot of keen interest. African politics has common denominators, of course, ethnic voting, regional balancing. We also see issues of personality, and these are very similar even to in the case of Nigeria, for example. So I think one of the greatest lessons that Nigeria can really borrow from this election is more and more we are seeing countries moving away from ethnic mobilization to more issue-based elections. So as opposed to ethnic mobilization or regional balancing acts, Kenya has shown that, well, we can vote on issues, economic issues. There was a lot of clarion call around graft and corruption, which I think is a similar problem in Nigeria. So some of the issues that Nigeria can actually borrow from the Kenyan election is moving towards more issue-based politics where they discuss the economy, they discuss issues around infrastructure, they discuss issues around building national cohesion and the like. And lastly, one of the issues that I think was very remarkable is the role of the Electoral Commission in the electoral process. So we are seeing that even the court is really going to give a verdict on the conduct of the Electoral Commission. So one of the things that Nigeria can also borrow is how can an electoral body be independent from political play, and how can it be able to be independent from politicians and the like, so that it can deliver a credible and a very verifiable election, as we have seen from the Kenyan elections.
Fantastic. Dr. Nicodemus Minde, international relations scholar and analyst, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.